So I found myself going down there, you know, other nights of the week other than the Saturday night, and socialising with people there. Made a lot of friendships which have endured to this day. In fact, many of them I'm still in contact with because they're regulars at the pub where I'm working now, which is kind of convenient. It's this full cycle.
Talk about the fact that you've got a lot of local friends, and when I look up video, I see so many Bangladeshi Muslims out there, and you often say things about. I'd like to talk about that.
Well, the acceptance within the doors of the Black Horse was one thing, but I'm not oblivious to the tensions that actually exist outside of that environment. And in fact, October 2004, I was attacked leaving the Black Horse one Sunday evening. It was late at night. I was surrounded by a group of young Asian males who started throwing cards behind the bar, throwing food at me, being obviously come out one of the local chicken shops along that stretch of road, and I really thought I was going to die. I was very, very frightened, and I did the worst thing I could have possibly done. Tried to break out of the circle and rushed at one of them, but somebody else ran behind me and hit me over the head with a bottle. And there was a lot of blood. I needed 7 stitches in my head, and all I can remember is someone had come out of the Black Horse, sat with me in the ambulance, and there was so much blood coming out of my head I thought I was going to die. All I was concerned was, please make sure that they bury me as Rebecca, which is one of those, I'm just sad. but that was my conscious thought at the time. I guess I knew where I was going then. The Black Horse went through considerable change, upheaval, around about 2005, 2006. I'm not sure exactly when it was. And the guy who owned it at the time decided to turn it into a, well, I guess he modelled it on something that was more West End, and I don't think it sat very easily with the existing client base. In any event, custom dwindled quite a lot. By then I'd actually started working behind the bar there, and I was also doing a quiz night there as well. One night I ran a quiz night, which I really quite enjoyed doing. So it had a bit of a cult following. In fact, I was asked to take that on to a couple of other places locally as well after a while. So people used to follow me around for my quizzes for a short while. I'm not doing that any longer. But, they usually used to have a particular theme, or were quite obscure, or had some little quirk, which is me all over, I guess. Things weren't going well for me at work, and at the end of 2004 I was made redundant by the Ombudsman's office. They'd gone through internal reorganisation. They were looking to lose staff. I'd been sort of unwell for most of the, like the last 18 months. Hadn't been able to get back into the workplace really after transitioning. Most of my colleagues, my immediate colleagues, were very welcoming, accepting at the Ombudsman's office. However, the management, I didn't feel the management was so sympathetic and really looking to manage me out on grounds of performance. And it was easier to take the payoff in the end, rather than staying. By that time, a lot of the fight had just gone out of me. So I spent 2005, half of 2006, you know, still based around the Black Horse, commuting in from Essex, just socialising, doing the quiz night, that kind of thing, and living off my payout. Didn't ask one. Yeah, I've always been a firm believer in retail therapy. But by August, I think it was August 2006, I was ready to get back into the workplace again, and I worked at Mile End Hospital for Tower Hamlets Primary Care Trust in the procurement department for about, I guess about 15 months or so, before finding another job with Lewisham Council. So even then, you know, I was still very much maintaining the links with Tower Hamlets. It was convenient for all the friends, you know, to keep in touch with all the friends. So for the last 6 or 7 years, my social life at least has very much revolved around this place, and it's been, you know, I regard it as home to that extent, because I say this, I go home to sleep, to catch up with my cat Moses. He's lovely, and you know, spend weekends there, but most of my life is spent around here, and I've become very involved with the local community through the council's LGBT forum, which is how we met, through a project, well, not so much a project, it's something I'm still working on, but I guess we can call it a local forum to promote the development of Bethnal Green as a town centre, which is something our company here is trying to get up and running. I also am involved with the local police through the independent advisory group as well, so I've got a lot going on here. So yes, this is a place that looms very large in my life.
So why do you still live out in Essex?
Why do I still live out in Essex? I guess I like the separation. It gives me that degree of privacy that I like as well at the same time. In some ways it was essential while I was working for the Crown Prosecution Service, because if you think about it, working at Snaresbrook Crown Court, having grown up within the catchment area of that Crown Court, Wendy was, when I first met her, was still living in that area. It was potentially, you know, there were potential difficulties there, because there was always the possibility that I could end up bumping into people that I knew, as happened on a number of occasions. In fact, I remember walking into one courtroom, sitting down behind prosecution counsel, and then realising that 6 members of the jury were neighbours of Wendy, all of whom knew me. So having to get the jury discharged, which made me flavour of the month, as you can imagine. So, you know, I like that. That degree of separation became habit. The other thing, of course, is rents around here. 1-bedroom council flat in Grays, 75 quid a week. You know, question kind of answers itself, really. Even with travel expenses on top, you know, there's no way I could afford a place the size of the one I've got, the privacy I've got with the garden, you know, for the same money. So that's why I'm still out there. Until I win the lottery, I guess I'll remain out there. But yeah.
What about the transition? Did you have it in town members?
The transition? Well, it wasn't geographically restricted. You know, I say, yes, I first came out around here, but after a while, it was February, March 2003, I decided, look, I'm not this guy. It's ridiculous me going around like this, because this really isn't me, and I'm going to be far happier, you know, out in public everywhere, as Rebecca. And so that's, you know, I made that conscious decision in 2003. At that time I hadn't really, you know, because I was off sick from work at that time, and it was, now, how the hell do I manage this in the workplace? And I hadn't got round to changing my name officially, and I wasn't in a rush to do so until I'd actually resolved how I was going to deal with the work aspect. A lot of the pressure actually came from work, you know, their expectations of how I was going to go next, because, you know, I disclosed the fact I was going through this process, and of course they were the ones who wanted to formalise it, and I kind of rushed things, if I'm honest. But we get to early October 2003, and I remember, I was going to the doctors, and there I was, Rebecca, and the annoying thing, although I told the doctors that I'd changed my name, two of the doctors in particular, whenever they called me into the consulting room over the Tannoy system, they did so using my old name. Great. So one Friday afternoon, I'd been to see the doctor, it had happened again. I thought, right, that's positively the last time I'm going to make it official. I'd drawn up the documents myself. Sometimes it's handy being a lawyer, you know. I'd drawn up the statutory declaration myself. I just hadn't gone to the solicitors to get it finalised. I just sat there and I'd been looking at it, and I just got so fed up. I got back home, and it was a Friday night. I've got a lot of friends from the north of England had come down to stay with me, because we were going to the Black Horse the next night, you see, so we were having a weekend of friends down. I said, alright, who can lend me a fiver? I need to go and someone said, what do you want it for? Never mind, just lend us a fiver, I'll let you have it back when I get back from the bank. So I headed off to the nearest solicitor's office, walked through the door and said, I need to swear this document. And that was it. I came back and I said, right, it's official. What, you know, I sort of just changed my name. And actually, I don't think I've let Dee Dee have £5 back yet, so